I ain't got no television show. Why? Because you scared of me. Scared I'm gonna say something.
And I know the truth. You think I'm gonna let you shit on Bernie and then come get me? I'm the next king? Fuck you.
When faced with overwhelming negativity, it's crucial to shift your focus away from it. Dwelling on negative thoughts can consume valuable time and energy. In 2024, the same kind of negativity that was directed at Bernie is re-emerging. I never aimed to be a movie star, and skeptics said I couldn't be one. They pointed out that of the 30,000 new scripts in Hollywood each year, none seem written for a rural black man with imperfect speech and an ordinary look. But what happened? I received an unexpected blessing. It's as if God said, I've equipped you to handle these challenges. This was echoed by figures like Steve Harvey and D.L. Hewley. Steve Harvey recently addressed the allegations made by Cat Williams, which have created a significant stir in the comedy community. Cat, known for his outspoken nature, accused Steve on Shannon Sharpe's podcast, Club Shay Shay, of fabricating his homelessness story, neglecting his first wife, plagiarizing jokes, and harboring jealousy towards the late Bernie Mac, allegedly attempting to hinder his career. These claims gained support from various industry personalities like Ed Lover and Monique, with Bernie Mac's daughter also affirming Cat's assertions. In response to these accusations and the backing they received, Steve is said to be taking substantial steps to quiet not only Cat, but also Monique, who has openly endorsed Cat's statements and criticized Steve for betraying fellow black comedians.
Oftentimes, when it comes to a black woman speaking up and speaking out, it goes unheard until she dies.
Steve Harvey has responded forcefully to Cat Williams and Monique, cautioning them against further mentioning his name. However, this reaction seems to have backfired, as it has garnered even more public support for Cat and Monique. The key question now is what exactly Steve said in his rebuttal, and whether his response lends credibility to the claims made by Cat and Monique. We'll delve into the details to understand the situation better. I've spent countless hours trying to help change someone who didn't see anything in themselves that needed changing. In the latest comedy scene developments, Cat Williams made some significant revelations on Shannon Sharpe's podcast. He particularly focused on Steve Harvey, accusing him of joke theft and collusion with Hollywood executives to undermine his competitors. Monique has now echoed these sentiments, labeling Steve as deceitful and disloyal. She was among the first to publicly criticize Steve for aligning with powerful industry figures, prioritizing financial gain over integrity. The roots of this conflict trace back to 2009, when Monique publicly accused Steve Harvey's close associates, Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry, of marginalizing her in the industry. Monique alleged that after she refused to comply with Oprah and Tyler Perry's requests to work without compensation, negative portrayals of her began to emerge in the media, painting her as a difficult collaborator.
And that's when he said, Mama, you've been blackballed. And I said, well, why have I been blackballed? And he said, because you didn't play the game.
This change in public perception coincided with Monique losing several acting opportunities, despite having won an Oscar for her role in Precious. Adding to the controversy, Steve Harvey addressed the issue on his radio show, implying that Monique's career suffered because she had alienated too many influential figures in the industry. Monique's sense of betrayal by Steve Harvey stems from their private conversations, where he appeared to support her stance against Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry. However, this contrasted sharply with his public criticism of her. The issue came to a head during Monique's appearance on Steve's show, where she confronted him for his duplicity. She explained how her refusal to work without proper compensation led to her being labeled difficult in the industry. Monique's defiance extended to high-profile figures like Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, Lee Daniels, and Lionsgate. She highlighted the irony that those who shared her racial background, including Steve, privately acknowledged she was right, yet publicly did not support her. This conflict underscored the complexities of navigating relationships and principles within Hollywood's power structure. In response to Monique's accusations, Steve Harvey attempted to clarify his position, suggesting that his critique was not about Monique's stance, but rather her approach to handling the situation. However, Monique firmly rejected this explanation, expressing that Steve should have communicated his concerns directly to her in private, rather than publicly criticizing her and exacerbating her reputation as being difficult. She expressed disappointment in Steve, wishing he had approached her personally to discuss the matter before speaking about it on air. This exchange highlighted the tension between private support and public condemnation in their professional relationship. Monique implicitly criticized Steve Harvey for compromising his integrity, suggesting he prioritized industry acceptance over authenticity. Although she didn't explicitly use the term selling out, her message was unmistakable. She articulated the consequences of succumbing to industry pressures, stating that when one allows their freedom and talent to be manipulated for others' comfort, everyone loses. Monique recounted a conversation with Steve, highlighting the personal toll of the industry's backlash on her family. She expressed disappointment that despite knowing neither she nor her husband did anything wrong, no one, including Steve, publicly defended her at the time it mattered most, choosing instead to distance themselves and leaving her to face the repercussions alone. Steve Harvey seemed to miss the essence of Monique's argument about maintaining integrity and principles. In his perspective, the primary consideration in the entertainment industry is financial success. He emphasized the constraints faced by black professionals in Hollywood, suggesting that they need to adapt to the prevailing system to succeed. Steve's viewpoint was that the industry operates on a different set of rules, a money game which transcends racial boundaries. However, Monique remained resolute, asserting that her integrity and values were not for sale, even in the face of financial incentives. This conversation highlighted a fundamental difference in their approaches to navigating the challenges of Hollywood. Steve Harvey has faced multiple accusations of prioritizing his own success over his principles and relationships with fellow comedians. A notable instance involves the late Bernie Mac. Persistent rumors suggested that Steve harbored jealousy towards Bernie during their collaboration on the original Kings of Comedy tour. Bernie Mac himself, in a 2003 GQ interview, claimed that Steve was envious and attempted to usurp his role in Ocean's 11. According to Bernie, Steve had someone from his team contact the film's director, Steven Soderbergh, to advocate for Steve getting the part instead of Bernie. This action, as perceived by Bernie, was indicative of Steve's willingness to compromise relationships for personal advancement. Conversely, Steve has refuted these allegations, expressing that he was hurt by Bernie's public remarks. Nonetheless, Cat Williams publicly criticized Steve, reinforcing the perception of him as someone willing to undermine his peers for personal gain. This narrative contributes to the complex picture of Steve Harvey's career and reputation within the comedy community. In a recent Club Shay interview, Cat Williams corroborated the story about the Ocean's 11 casting controversy. He asserted that Steve Harvey indeed envied Bernie Mac and had attempted to take over Bernie's film roles, though without success due to his perceived lack of acting talent. Cat humorously critiqued Steve's aspirations in Hollywood, highlighting the unlikelihood of scripts being written for someone matching Steve's description, a self-described country bumpkin black dude with limited eloquence and an ordinary appearance. Cat accused Steve of actively pursuing Bernie's role in Ocean's 11A, contradicting Steve's claim of not aspiring to be a movie star. Cat's remarks suggest he felt obligated to speak up on behalf of Bernie Mac, providing his perspective on the long-standing rumors within the comedy circuit. In the same interview, Cat Williams challenged Steve Harvey's claims about his past, specifically questioning the authenticity of Steve's narrative of having been homeless. Cat argued that this backstory was more reflective of his own life rather than Steve's. He also criticized Steve for his portrayal as an ideal husband, highlighting inconsistencies in Steve's personal narratives over the years. Cat referenced Steve's past, pointing out that during his early days of touring with Mark Curry, Steve was already earning a substantial income from his comedy shows. Furthermore, Cat brought up Steve's multiple marriages, questioning his public statements about the role his wives have played in his success. This critique painted a picture of Steve as someone who, according to Cat, was not only inauthentic in his storytelling, but also inconsistent in his personal life. Cat Williams provided an alternative explanation for Steve Harvey's departure from stand-up comedy, which contradicted Steve's own account. On Shannon Sharpe's podcast, Steve had claimed he left stand-up comedy due to the demands of hosting 7 TV shows. However, Cat suggested that Steve's retreat from stand-up was actually the result of a comedic defeat. According to Cat, this occurred during a stand-up competition in Detroit, where he and Steve faced off in front of an audience of 10,000 people. Cat humorously claimed that his jokes about Steve being bald and wearing a wig were so impactful that they led to Steve's decision to stop performing stand-up.
Told you that he stopped doing stand-up because he had 7 TV shows. He stopped stand-up because he got in a comedy battle with one Cat Williams in Detroit.
He further insinuated that Steve's narrative of leaving stand-up due to his busy TV schedule was an exaggeration and criticized him for shifting blame onto others, like Bernie Mac, for his career choices. This version of events portrayed by Cat Williams adds another layer to the narrative of Steve Harvey's career and his decision to step back from stand-up comedy. Following the widespread attention Cat Williams' interview on Club Shay received, sources close to Steve Harvey indicated he initially had no intention of responding to Cat's comments, preferring not to engage with negativity. However, the situation seemed to escalate as Steve not only addressed the matter, but also reportedly issued warnings to both Cat and Monique to cease mentioning him. Steve subtly responded to the controversy by posting a video on Family Feud discussing how to handle detractors, captioning it with a message about ignoring haters. Furthermore, Steve appeared to indirectly reference the situation in a pre-recorded segment of his Steve Harvey radio show. In this episode, he cautioned listeners about believing eloquently presented falsehoods, hinting that some individuals are skilled at blending truths with lies, thereby misleading others. This insinuation seemed aimed at Cat, suggesting that his accusations were a mix of truth and fabrication. Through these responses, Steve Harvey navigated the delicate balance between addressing the allegations and maintaining his stance of staying above negativity. Despite Steve Harvey's efforts to discredit Cat Williams and Monique, many fans appear to be siding with them. The general sentiment among these supporters is that Steve's decision to issue warnings was a reaction to Cat and Monique revealing truths about him. One fan expressed a strong dislike for Steve, questioning his talent and criticizing him for allegedly threatening Cat over his truthful remarks. Another commenter pointed to Steve's reportedly negative reputation, citing various examples from online sources that paint an unflattering picture of his behavior and ethics, both professionally and personally. These reactions from the public suggest that Steve's attempts at damage control may not have had the intended effect, instead reinforcing the claims made by Cat and Monique in the eyes of many observers. What's your perspective on the reports of Steve Harvey allegedly threatening Cat Williams and Monique while also labeling them as liars? Share your opinions in the comments section. Afterwards, feel free to explore more insights and discussions in this next video.